I'm going to be talking about being a gray man slash being a gray suit. The gray suit's more of the name given by the CIA, FBI kind of stuff going on there, covert operations. Essentially that's what this is. It's just maintaining a level of secrecy or a level of camouflage in your day-to-day operations. Now this might be helpful for someone to know how to do this who is escaping a certain area, or maybe you're trying to do surveillance, or there could be a number of reasons, in a WROL situation or some type of catastrophic event where you're carrying a lot of valuable stuff with you, yet you're wanting to maintain a low profile. This is where being a gray man or being a gray suit will come in. So to get this thing started, what happens is in your brain you have what's called a reticular activating system, or RAS, whatever you want to call it. And this system is looking for threats, actively looking for threats. And so if you can limit the amount of threats, or really completely delinquish all threats that you're giving off or emitting, then you're going to, in a sense, be invisible or not be remembered by those that you were around. So what are the main threats is what we need to go over first. And so a fast movement, threatening movement, reflections, bright light, and implied movement. These are all things that automatically are activating that system within your mind, and you're going to most likely remember those things. Things that aren't threats, okay, are things such as natural colors, shadow, and slow movements. They're non-threatening. Okay, and to get into this further is maybe you're going about your day and the things that you're going to remember are these things. Okay, so what I have here is a normal accepted range. Okay, and so how loud or soft someone's voice is, how good or bad they smell, their attitude, were they kind or mean, tall or short. You have a certain acceptable range of people that you're encountering, and you're really not going to remember them unless you have an amazing memory. You're going to go about your day, you're doing your thing, and we're trying to get you into the mindset of, we don't want people to remember you. In this scenario, this isn't always a everyday thing. This is while you're in this situation of trying to be a gray man, right? So you can only do so much about your height. So if you're a very tall person, most likely you're going to be remembered. If you're a very short person, super small, people are going to remember that. I remember seeing this really short person today. If they're really attractive or extremely ugly, those are things that come into effect there as well. So that some of these things you can do stuff about, like if you have a lot of tattoos, most likely you're going to want to cover that up, unless maybe you're at a tattoo convention and everyone has tattoos and you're only a person that doesn't. You're going to stick out. Dark or light skin, well, there's only so much you can do about that. Your movements, or even your driving, that's something you can do, right? So if you're driving erratically, people are going to remember that. You're driving, dangerously, or if you're driving too slow. These are things that stick out. So what you're trying to do is minimize this and stay within the normal operating range. And so I've written down here, the mind remembers whatever significantly stimulates it. So, again, very attractive person, people remember that. Really crummy vehicle, things all rusted out and ticking, they're going to remember that. It's a stimulus. Now, this right here that we just talked about, this is dictated by your geographical region and your cultural norms. This is also, you can kind of determine this by learning. We can refer to this as a baseline or normal operating range. And this baseline can be determined simply by going somewhere that there's a lot of people around and then observing. So maybe at a coffee shop in a central location. So maybe you're, going to be living in this region and you kind of want to keep a low profile. So you wear some neutral colors and you go to this coffee shop and you kind of scan and study and figure out what is the baseline in this area. And that baseline, you're getting an idea too of, the sound, the motion, and the activity level in the area. And your whole plan here is to avoid trouble, okay? So that's how this is. And also what we're doing here is we're also forcing an increase in awareness on your part. Being one of these people, a gray man, or even as you start to increase your knowledge in this area, what you're doing is really increasing your awareness of your surroundings. And that's key to this. Okay, so I want to go over lastly mannerisms. Okay, so you don't want to make eye contact. Contrary to what you would want to do is if, say you're a businessman and you came in and you're trying to close deals, that's one of the major things. You want to have eye contact. You want to be confident. You want all these things. You're projecting all this because, you're authoritative and you're strong and whatever, your situation is. With this, you're doing kind of the opposite. You're not making eye contact. You don't want to look around a bunch. You don't want to project confidence, and you don't want to make sweeping gestures. You're very, the whole idea here is that if you were to walk past a group of people, people wouldn't even look your way. If you were to go in a store and get something, people wouldn't even look at you. In an emergency situation, this is a big thing because a lot of people talk these days about, what if there was a huge disaster or collapse or some without rule of law situation, and you get this guy runs out and he has 5'11" tactical pants on, and he has like some type of tactical shirt on, tactical hat on, has a backpack that has mole type lining, and it's just like this guy's screaming, "I have gear on me, come rob me," to some, to people that are aware. Now some people aren't going to pick up on that because they don't look in those terms, they don't think like that. But to the trained eye, most people are going to say, that guy has stuff, we need to go after him. But the gray man, if done properly, he's not going to be noticed. He's going to go by and he's going to leave in his average car, and people aren't going to pick up on that. So again, different clothes that we could go over. Well, you got to look in your area, whatever that is. Just like a Carhartt and jeans is an acceptable thing in, maybe Kansas at a bar, and then in San Diego, wearing a Carhartt jeans in a downtown area would look weird. People that would stand out. So you have to find out what that baseline is, what the normal type of clothing is, and then mimic that. You don't want to be wearing weird fatigue stuff in order to be a gray man. If you're in a business region, you don't want to be wearing a $2,000 suit. Maybe you want to be wearing like a couple $100 suit or $500, just something very basic. It doesn't have to be, and it's kind of a little bit difficult to determine, but with time, you can figure these things out. And like one of the key things here, I believe, in order to really get a good role model in your gray man studies is to sit in a public area and just observe for, 10 minutes, and come across somebody, you just start looking at little things like, wow, okay, that guy's shoes stand out, or that lady's hair, or wow, that's some really eccentric jewelry, something, everything that sticks out. And then you're eventually going to see someone that walks across and nothing sticks out. They're just kind of just move across and you're like, whoa, like I wasn't drawn to that person at all by anything, but it takes a while to figure that out, find that person, and then kind of follow them and see how they behave. See how they hold themselves and how they look around and do things. If they're very, unnoticed, that's kind of how you want to behave. It gives you an example to look after. Now, obviously, don't stalk this person and creep them out, but it gives you an idea of like how you want to be when you're being a gray man. So I hope this video helps some of you guys educate yourselves on what a gray man is and how to conduct yourself and being one. And if you guys like the video, I'd appreciate it if you give me a thumbs up and like it and share it. And if you didn't, please express your comments and concerns below. Thanks for watching. My name is Charles Benz. Have a great day.